Have you ever heard of Conquest? What about First Blood? And no, not the Rambo one. Well, if you haven't, today we're going to talk about them while I paint one of their models that I had an absolute blast painting. A while back, one of the big videos on YouTube that I followed and a bunch of other people followed was a video on purchasing Warhammer Armies for under $500. And there were a few, right? Of the hundreds of armies that you could purchase, there were a few that you could do for under $500, and they were kind of slim pickings. Conquest is not that way. Conquest is a full-on tabletop war game, okay, where you pit your giant army against another giant army, and for $500 you can get a full 2,000 point army with one of the big units as a part of it. And when I say big units, I mean archangels, dinosaurs, giant golems, and all sorts of cool stuff. Conquest is a very different tabletop war game when it comes to art and a few other things. And their Black Friday sales that they had this last year were some of the best that I have ever seen. And if you want to get into an army, you want to have just a big full army and play a full army game with friends, this might be the best way to get into doing that. I did a video a couple weeks back about my favorite model that I've ever painted, and it was this. The Steel Forged. And it was my favorite model to put together just because of how customizable they allowed me to be with a model right out of the box, which I loved. Since then, I put together a lot of other units from this army, and in all honesty, they range from a delight and easy to put together to this is a nightmare, why does it have a shoe? Seriously, they have some models that literally have just the foot that you have to put on afterwards, which is kind of interesting. Different, but in all honesty, easy enough to put together. Good models. And as I started painting this one, I thought I'm going to do a nice, simple, easy paint job and see what I can do to make it a little different and make it my own. And I feel like I've gotten there. So as I'm talking about this game and the different things about it and how I feel about it, I'll be showing off kind of that paint job and how it went. And yeah, it was a simple job. Simple and easy. And if you have any questions about it, let me know down below. And I just want you to know that it only took me about an hour to paint, start to finish. And it's one of the bigger models. And that does include airbrushing. If you're worried about airbrushing or have questions about it, my video from last week kind of sums up how I feel about it. But so first, let's get started with, like I said, the models. How do I feel about them? They're great. They're plastic. They're off the sprue. Some of them are a little hard to put together. But if you're patient and just use the instructions that they've given you, it's actually pretty simple. The process, most of the models are 5 or 6 pieces. A few of them are more, a few of them are less. And so in all honesty, it's not going to be something that's like super difficult for anyone. If you put together Warhammer, you put together these. They're that simple. Next up, the rules. So Conquest is one of those, just like most games out there right now, they're trying to do a full army version of the game and your skirmish version of the game. And that's what Conquest and First Blood is. First Blood is their skirmish. And in all honesty, there is nothing about this game that is game breaking as far as like different. If you know how to play a war game, this will be a nice, easy one to go into. One of the things that they do that I absolutely love is that for every unit that you have in your army, they give you a card. And so there's cards for all the different units. If you have the app, you can scan the QR code. The QR code right here, and it'll pull up the stats of that unit on your phone immediately. So you can look at it, you can see anything, and the way that the game is played is that the order that your cards are in is how is what order your units go in. So if it's your turn and you pull your card, flip it over, oh, it's the Wardens. That means it's the Warden's turn to go. And you just kind of move back and forth from player to player, going through that process. So it's random, but at the same time, it's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. Whereas the full-on war game, also known as the Last Argument of Kings, which I don't know. We'll just keep it simple. Conquest is the full game. First Blood is the skirmish game. Conquest is more your turn, my turn. It's very similar to Warhammer if you've played that, or most war games as they are. Okay, but again, the cards are a nice touch. One of the things that I do wish is that the stats of each card was printed on it. They're giving you the card anyway. You know, they might as well print the stats of each card so you have them there in front of you. I don't know why they don't, but it's easy enough to look up. So not a big drawback. But overall, it's not a hard game to get into. And if you're familiar with war games, you will feel right at home with this one. As far as the value is concerned, like I said, there's not a lot of war games that you can get into for under $500, and that's kind of their selling point with their full-on armies, is that you can. And every year they come out with new packs and new things that are released, and they're good. And what I mean by that is that they try to put different things in it. So if you bought a new pack last year, the new pack this year will be all different stuff. Okay, and as a company, they're doing their best to make sure that you want to buy the things that they sell. They do podcasts with live Q&As and things like that. As far as the company goes, as far as value goes, they're great. They are awesome. They're releasing a new line, whole new faction, and it's Samurai Demons. I mean, come on. What's cooler than that, right? And so that's coming out soon. You can pre-order it now on their website. But overall, they are growing, they're expanding, and they're doing their best to make sure that they have a very good communication with their customers. As far as story goes, they have fleshed out stories for each of the factions. I mean, the Dwagam that I bought, dwarfs imprisoned by dragons rose up, killed the dragons, and now they have imprisoned the dragons and make the dragons fight for them. And their big units are, you guessed it, dragons that they ride and have mounted cannons to, and things like that. So the story is good for each of the factions. It's very different. It's very, I don't want to say it's grand and like just all encompassing like Warhammer is and things like that, but it's very down to earth. It'll give you reason to play your faction, and overall they're decent. And there is stuff written for each faction that is just interesting and will help you make your decision if you care about that stuff. And then lastly, is it fun? Yeah. The little bit that I have played of this game is fun. The card system is nice just because you don't know who's going next or what's going to happen. And it makes things a little more interesting. And overall, when I think of skirmish games, I think of 5, 6, 7 models or something like that. Whereas this one, this one's got 17. Okay, and so it gives you a little extra to go with. Like I said, a little more bang for your buck. If you are looking to paint miniatures and get them up on the wall, the diversity of these is just insane. And I love it. I think, as far as tabletop games and skirmish games go, this is right up there with anything else, with Spearhead, with Kill Team, with, anything in that genre. Conquest and First Blood should feel right at home for you. So if you're looking for something new that's growing and that has a great community, Conquest is not a bad place to start. I hope to paint more of their miniatures. I hope to build my Dwagam army and maybe one day compete in a Conquest match and let you know kind of how that goes. I don't have a full army to play with, but one day I hope to. I love that I can take these miniatures and use them in my D&D campaigns, and most of the factions that are in this, you can multi-purpose them and use them in other games and use them in any kind of old world RPG or anything like that you're playing, because they'll fit right in. And I love that about this, and that's why I made a lot of the minis the way that I did, because I wanted that diversity. I wanted that cool factor when I made this First Blood team that I did. And so love that. Those of you who play it, let me know what I'm missing below. Let me know what you think about it, why you like Conquest, and if you have any questions or you think I'm wrong in any of these things, let me know. This miniature that I painted was literally all brushing, and what I mean by that is it was dry brushing and airbrushing. I pulled out a paintbrush to do a couple little edge highlights and things like that, but overall it was brushed the entire way, and it was one of the easiest ones that I've ever had to paint, and it was fun. I like that. I like when I can sit down in an hour and paint something that I'm happy with. So if you're up for something new that is familiar, that is a different artistic style than probably anything else that you've seen, Conquest is a great place to start. And it's an easy place to start and get into. And if you want a lot of models for not a lot of money, I don't think I've seen a better deal out there aside from 3D printing. So if that interests you, and if you want to see more on Conquest, on more on the other games that we're going to be looking into this year, please like and subscribe. Drop a comment below. Let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you like about these games or hate. You know, not all these games are not all the same. There's reasons that some are better than others. I'm going to try my best not to just sugarcoat everything and point out the stuff that I see. I mean, Conquest is great, but like I said, it doesn't do anything that I feel is game changing. But maybe I'm wrong. And if I am, let me know. Tell me why you think that way. And as always, thanks for joining us here at Pulsegate Games, where our goal is to make your tabletop gaming experience the best that it can be. Don't spend so much time making your world, models, armies, that you forget to spend some time playing with them. Until next time.